Small group today.
Yeah.
We're getting our fence replaced in the backyard, and my office is at the ground level right next to that. And so yesterday, someone was taking out the concrete post base with a jackhammer right on the other side of the wall.
Oh no.
Fortunately, it was one of the small electric jackhammers, but still.
Sounds like they're moving further away from my window, which is, I think, a good thing. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna go and swap out to my noise canceling headphones.
Makes sense.
Can you all still hear me? All right. Cool. All right, sorry about that. Very loud construction going on outside, so okay. Probably get started here in a second. Let me just pull up the meeting notes in 1 second.
I put a link in the chat.
Oh, cool, thanks. So yeah, feel free to add your attendance to the meeting notes here. Okay, as a reminder, this meeting is recorded. It gets uploaded to LFX shortly after. Your attendance is in agreement to abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct. And also there is, oh, actually there's none. Okay, yeah, cool. So let's get to it. So before getting, I know, I don't know if we want to postpone the debate because we don't have a ton of folks, but either way, but before then, we can kind of go through the normal updates. All right. Is there? Doesn't. So everybody here has been here. So I don't think there's anybody new. Okay, cool. Anybody attend the APAC meeting or anything like that that wants to, that has any updates from any of the other meetings? Doesn't sound like it.
So the APAC meeting.
Is Evan frozen for? Oh, okay. Well, we can get his update when he's back. Was there a TOC meeting?
Yes, there was yesterday, one of the public meetings. As far as updates go, that was mainly a kind of like a tag reporting meeting. So each tag reporting what is your plan for KubeCon. And so for those who are interested in what all the tags are aligning on for various presentations or activities at KubeCon, you could probably find the recording for that public meeting. But overall, reporting on, for tag security, if you have not seen it yet, we have a blog post on the tag security website that outlines here's what, some of what we're doing and presenting at KubeCon. I don't think that outlines the kiosk, and so probably still opportunity. It does include the kiosk mentioned, but we are still looking for, or we are going to start looking for people to staff the kiosk for those who want to help represent the tag.
Yeah, it's as far as the kiosk stuff, I could definitely now that I've sort of sorted out most of my schedule, it's that first day that was it the Tuesday, is that right? That I think is the one day that I absolutely cannot, because that's the day I have to really be staffing my company booth. But beyond that, I think I'll have a lot more. I checked, and I should have a lot more free time. I know I signed up for one slot, but I could probably sign up for a couple of others. Right. All right. Project updates. Oh, sorry. Now that, yeah, Evan, since you're back, you started talking about APAC, and then it just cut off. So
Okay, the APAC meeting was 2 weeks ago, but there was a TOC meeting yesterday that Brant attended.
Yeah. So Brant gave the update on that one. But I actually, is that something that's worthwhile chatting about maybe a little later, just sort of general KubeCon plans? I know one of the things that we used to do, which maybe is still valuable here, is like, here's a set of interesting security related talks that our tag finds that might be interesting for folks to check out.
We did a blog post about that when the schedule came out, but I don't know.
Oh, we did? Okay. Whoops.
Yep.
I must have missed that.
It was
All right.
like a month and a half ago now. So.
All right, cool. Going through project updates.
I can give an update on the supply chain insights initiative.
Cool.
I think the short summary is that we are still in the exploratory phase of finding SBOMs. We thought that this was going to be short and easy when we were, as a group, when we were planning this. I did not think that was going to be the case. But I encouraged others to prove me wrong, and I did not get proved wrong, unfortunately. So we're still currently trying to, discover SBOMs and prepare them for ingestion. Go ahead.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I've had the same. I want to say, I wish maybe progress on that was a little bit better, because I think we had the same exact problem when we tried to do something similar like a year ago or something like that, of like who's generating SBOMs and who's not generating SBOMs.
And I think if someone is generating SBOMs.
Yeah, and there's a huge SBOM discoverability challenge. I know that OpenSSF has had a couple of, like, they haven't expressed clear guidance, but there are a couple of things in that space that's probably worth, like, there's things like the Transparency Exchange API coming out of OWASP. I've played around with a couple of ideas for how to sort of like communicate out, like, my project generates SBOMs. Like, there's stuff like Security Insights and similar things, but I do think that there needs to be a bit more on that front to make it a little bit easier for folks to know, like, yes, my SBOM has been published and it lives inside the OCI registry. Or it lives, or it's it lives inside the OCI registry, or I put it as a GitHub release, or it lives in this directory somewhere. It lives in this bucket. Upon request, I publish
a Helm chart, and it contains these images, and these images have SBOMs which you can determine. Yep. we have made this discovery very hard.
Yep. Yeah, and I do think that there is some work in that space that I think some folks are playing around with, which is, can we look at, like, I think the one that I really like is a few folks, like the Transparency Exchange API and so on, they're looking at that sort of Acme Let's Encrypt style challenges for, like, saying, hey, if you put information about where your SBOMs live under these common paths, it makes it much easier for folks to then be able to discover where these things are. But I think there's still more work to be done there. And again, I think, this is the sort of thing that I do think that if, I wouldn't mind if LFX, let's say, hey, projects can publish their SBOMs to LFX, and then, LFX can just store them, so anybody who uses LFX can go and download them easily or whatever. Like, I think there's a bunch of different routes we can go, but it's yeah. All right. So that's useful stuff. Any other updates on that one, or any other projects?
I don't know if security assessments made any progress moving people to assigned and so forth. We talked about that last time.
No, I mean, we basically found out that people didn't respond, which is rather than us like now we don't have a full cadre of people waiting around for someone who may or may not respond to us. Because I think that's why I encourage us to just reach out and say, "Are you alive?" Unless that happened and I missed it, but.
Sorry if I'm not pronouncing this right. Jacopo?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm a bit late, but I wrote something on the channel, and Ivan said it's a good idea if you bring an agenda item. I didn't know how to do it, so I'm just popping up right now, like invading this space. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I mean, we might. Can you hold it just till we're done with the project updates, and then?
Absolutely.
Cool. Are there any other project updates? All right, back over to you.
This is not me, but we have another initiative around AI MCP auth that we should add to the list of getting updates from.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just looking at the issue for that one, and it looks like we need to schedule a time. The person we have as the initiative lead, according to GitHub, look as though they are located in India. So we're gonna have to figure out timing that works somehow. I'm not quite sure what the options are.
First, want to figure out who all the participants are, and then use Doodle or whatever to figure out possible times or when to meet.
When to meet with no time zones makes it impossible for me to figure out when is it that we should be meeting.
You schedule one specific meeting rather than a recurring one, and then it does the time zone translation stuff like Doodle does. I can show you later if you want. But anyway, sounds like our update right now is we haven't made further progress. I think that's the last of our project update.
All right, cool. Back to you, Jacopo.
Oh, thanks. So I actually, now that so I arrived when you were talking, so I started listening about all of this SBOM stuff. So probably I have another item to add, but let's start with the original one. The original one is that I wanted to know if there is a specific place, or if there is like any idea on how one can talk about best practices when it comes to policy as a code or configuration as a code specifically. I did work, did some research on Kubernetes manifests in terms of like how they can be misused, or different sort of interpretations between the creator of the configuration and the user of the configuration, and what things can go wrong, so on and so forth. So I was thinking maybe there is a place where I can discuss this and gather some feedback also from the security and compliance talk. This was like the main question that I had.
If no one else is going to jump in, I'm going to jump in. I think that you've got some interesting topics here. One of the things that I think may help you is to figure out exactly what you're looking for. Are you looking to produce like a white paper or some guidance? Are you looking for a discussion forum without sort of like a specific deliverable and artifact in a time frame? Are you looking for somebody to give feedback on a thing you've already done?
I think I'm looking for like sort of white paper kind of thingy.
Okay, so
Like,
if you're
like I have already a list of things that can go wrong, and I would like to share those with the broader audience. That would be like the idea.
If you want to do a white paper, those fall under the initiative process. So the mechanism would be to open an issue in the CNCF TOC repo, follow the initiative template, point it towards tag security and compliance, and include a bunch of details. And Brent is more of an expert here than I, so he's probably going to tell you about things we've already done.
I mean, I
Okay.
think that nails it. I think what I wanted to add as additional flavor is like initiative is like, hey, we have an idea of things we want to work on and we should propose and do them. I think if you're in an earlier stage of, hey, I have some things that I'd like to discuss to really like figure out how to mold them into reality, or, you know, here's what I believe, you know, is a gap. I think what you've done by putting it in the channel and then coming to the meeting here is a great way to get started with that. And in particular, I think your connection of those topics, policy as code, configuration as code, and this tag is very appropriate. The Kubernetes policy working group recently stood down. And I think there were a number of us, maybe not on this call, but there were a number of people, myself included, on that working group over in Kubernetes who said, hey, policy as code has become very, you know, more of a larger problem set than just Kubernetes. It feeds a lot of different ecosystems. And so I would say that there's an even better, maybe like thread to pull on here for how do we bring that community over and start some of these discussions? Because I know a number of those people who worked on policy engines would be probably more than willing to come and talk about maybe best practices or a possible initiative.
Okay, so if I understood correctly, the best way would be to open this issue both for like having a white paper, but also to sparkle like some high level discussion on the topic. That would be like it, or is there something else to be done? Like, open.
So I think it depends on whether you have a clear idea as to what you want to write this white paper on, or whether you're looking to gather some feedback about which angles are important and what is in and more importantly out of scope for the white paper. If you're looking
Yes,
to discuss and sort of plan what the white paper might look like, I think having discussion in tag security and compliance on Slack is a great place to do that. There's a bunch of advantages of doing the discussion in Slack over doing it in this meeting. One of it is that it's more time zone friendly and easier for people to catch up and participate later asynchronously with the discussion. Another advantage is that you can take the good stuff and you can copy paste it into your initial white paper draft. Whereas meetings are notoriously hard to copy paste into documents.
Okay, I think that's the best option.
So if you know, oh, I want to talk about exactly this, then initiative. Otherwise, you know, say, hey, I'd like to write a white paper on this general topic area. Here are some of my ideas. You know, who else is interested and what are your experiences and takes? What existing resources are there already that we should know about and reference? And Slack is a great place for all of that. And
I think you
John's
convinced me.
link to prior work, for example. Brant, you still have your hand up, but I'm guessing you don't want to talk.
No, I'll jump back in is only to say like I think it'd be great to try to have those discussions in Slack for sake of getting people involved in the discussion and then see if that can evolve to the next step. And the next step could then be let's have a synchronous discussion. Let's find one of the next tag security meetings that we can all discuss this topic set and maybe get more. I don't know. It allows for maybe just one more feedback loop before you say this should be a white paper.
Yes, I do agree. Um, can I say another small thing? Okay, so I was listening part of the discussion Michael was having about the SBOM somehow sharing and reusability of SBOM, and I've done some work on that field too, and a topic that I would like to bring into the community is somehow showing that at the moment SBOMs are kind of in a weird state where they can they are not interoperable in the sense that like you get a bomb, but then what do you do with it? Like usually you want to get CVs or like some sort of information about that, but most likely the like what I noticed and what I did research on is that tools kind of have their own subversion of this SBOM standards, which makes hard for one tool to understand what the other tool wrote. So basically we have a SBOM, but we cannot really use it.
I do think that's a good topic. I mean, if you have like good examples of like sorry, my allergies. So if you have like any good examples of different tools that like, hey, you know, it's clear that like the SBOMs generated by this tool can't be used by this other tool. I think that's definitely sort of valuable, especially in the context of in this case, cloud native. Like if it's just sort of general SBOMs, I do think that like the OpenSSF might be a better sort of avenue for some of that stuff. But I agree that, you know, that's definitely still good info.
I just published a kind of technical report. Maybe I'll share it in the chat because maybe it's the best way that I have to convey this kind of message. So I did exactly that. Like there is like I tested N tools, not all of them, but N, and I compared them against each other in terms of like packages and the CVEs that they produce. And that's basically why I'm here, because I was able to publish this. I did this kind of research, and I wanted to share with you to understand if this is something that the community may be interested to, like in understanding or like diving it a little bit more.
I'm going to annoyingly point you in more places to go. But the OpenSSF has a number of working groups discussing SBOMs. And that may be a good place to bring some of these things up. Additionally, CISA just recently did a comment period that has unfortunately just closed a week ago on the minimum elements for an SBOM to define what actually you need to put in your SBOM in order to make it useful. Let me find the SBOM. So there is an SBOM and attestations best practice guidance meeting that is probably at a terrible time for you because it's 5 p.m. Pacific. That is every other Wednesday. And I don't know if I can get a useful, I don't know how to get a useful link to it. But I will drop a link to the meeting minutes in chat. So I'm not sure that those people are exactly who you're looking for, but I suspect they might be. And I apologize for the time zone challenges.
Thanks.
Yeah. I do think regardless of whether or not this avenue is the one to do for some of those, there's definitely a lot of folks who are working in this space. You know, Justin Kapos himself is also working on a bunch of stuff, like, for example, SBOMit, which is looking to eliminate a lot of the issues that yeah, there, yeah, yes, exactly. Cool. All right, well, we're at the half hour. Are there any other agenda items? I know we wanted to do that debate, but I know we don't have a lot of folks here. Did we still want to do that, or did we want to postpone?
We can do it another time. Like we haven't advertised it. We don't know who's doing it and stuff like this. So I think we have to. I think one of the really nice things that happened out of the debate that the last debate was there was a lot of like anticipation building up to it and effort made to draw people in. So I think we want to do things like that.
Yeah, I also have another topic for maybe a future debate. I think one of the ones is regarding what counts as a vulnerability. One of the things that I think has been happening a lot lately in the open source space, especially the cloud native space, is like folks pushing on, I misconfigured my Kubernetes, or I misconfigured some system and it's the fault of the system for not protecting me, rather than it's my fault for not configuring it the right way. And exactly where the line blurs there. A good example was I read, this is a little tangential, but I read this interesting blog where I understood where the person was coming from, which is 1Password has a CLI tool. And if you log into the CLI tool, anything that potentially, let's say, a future NPM attack can see if maybe have you unlocked your vault, I'm going to dump all your passwords. And I'm like, that's the issue of generally everything, right? Like if I unlock a vault and cache the credentials, that's always going to be an issue regardless. So it's like, I don't think that's like, for example, a vulnerability in 1Password. But another thing that has happened in the past was also there was what was I going to say? There was one called there was a vulnerability that was disclosed to OpenTelemetry, I think, that felt a little bit more like, at least to me, and OpenTelemetry being, you know, a CNCF thing, I think it's very related. One of the ones that, again, I think comes up a lot is, at least to me, it's like the equivalent of Open telemetry has the possibility to leak sensitive data. And it feels to me like it's not like a violation of the contract between open telemetry and the users. It's kind of like, if I go and I do print my secret password, who is going to stop me from doing that? It's very different than if open telemetry said, if you tag variables a certain way, label them a certain way, annotate them a certain way, we will not print those. And it still prints them. Yes, absolutely. That's a security vulnerability in my opinion. But there are like a lot of folks who are pushing this thing of, and I think to the danger of everybody, that like users should not have to think about security at all, and that everything around them should figure it out. And I think that to me seems like a little scary. And I would love to have a debate or a broader discussion on some of that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to take either side of that debate, because like I think you can make things that are harder to use as foot guns. And I also think that you can you do bear some responsibility if you make something that gets used as a foot gun that people wouldn't expect it to be used to foot gun them.
I think Joe Beta, I think, was the person who described it to me as a drill press. A drill press is very good at making holes in things. And if you put your hand in the drill press, it's very good at making a hole in your hand too. And so there may be some responsibility for safety guards and some responsibility for using it appropriately. But that one stuck with me from my shop class 30 years ago.
Completely random, but if you've ever seen a YouTube video or in person, the table saws now that have moisture sensing, you can slide a hot dog or something on the table saw. It will immediately stop and not even put a nick in your finger or some other alternative.
About that, I think I have another interesting example of vulnerabilities. So, what can be, let's say, a simple CLI crash in a VM can become I've seen this becoming a denial of service in a container. So, and this is also one of the things that I try to work at in my research, is kind of, there should be also this idea of where do you apply this, like what is your environment? And sometimes, depending on the environment, something can be a vulnerability or not. But what do you think?
I do agree that like there's a lot of things out there that, depending on the context they're used, will have different sort of issues. And I think, again, when it comes to some of this, is like, I usually view it as, if I can't anticipate how a tool I've written is going to be used, and so there's going to always be some burden on the user to make sure, like, hey, am I doing the right things with this? But again, within reasonable expectations, I think. Like, I think I always kind of go back to, right, is like, like, let's say the 1Password thing that some folks have been bringing up is like, hey, I ran this 1Password thing, and if like a future NPM attack comes in and a pre-install or post-install script runs, and part of that run is, let me run 1Password and post everything to some anonymous API endpoint, and now I've stolen all your credentials. There's a little bit of like, I think it kind of falls a little bit on like sort of the end user. With that said, I can also imagine it's just generally good practice for, let's say, a security sensitive tool like that to provide configuration options for folks who are in this space saying, hey, I'm working with very sensitive credentials. I want to make sure that it requires interactive login for every single time I need to pull a password. But most folks are like, hey, my risk, appetite is very different. Like I'm just, going on, like I just want to share my Netflix password. If somebody steals my Netflix password, I can go and reset it. Like, and worst comes to worst, if it becomes a huge issue, I can cancel my Netflix account. Like that's not a big deal to me compared to I am using it to store sensitive credentials for the core of like a banking transaction system. It's like, okay, in that particular case, I want to like, in those cases as well, like I'm probably not running npm install in those sorts of environments. I'm probably running it sandboxed.
So the comment about taking the content and tossing them out somewhere reminded me of this PR that was that I happened across while I was looking at my Dependabot queue, and I was like, "What were the changes to this library?" And I went and looked, and I'm like, "Yeah, we're not taking updates from them for a bit." Git Guardian actually apparently noticed it and took that stuff down. So.
Cool. All right. Any other topics for now? Otherwise, we can kind of end 20 minutes early. One quick thing, we can push this to Slack, but there's quite a few upcoming conferences beyond just KubeCon, but one is Open Source Finance Forum in New York. That's happening on the 22nd, I believe, or 21st and 22nd, something like that, or 20th and 21st. Anyway, in a couple of weeks, if folks have thoughts around things there, I will be there. I will probably be collecting some of my thoughts for a future to bring to a future event. Sorry, a future one of these meetings. But if folks have things that feel free to bring them up. And then separately at the end of the month, there is an event that I'll be going to in Brussels. It's a policy related, EU policy, cybersecurity policy sort of related event, Cyber Resilience Act, and some of the other things that are related to it, like some of the upcoming AI legislation and a bunch of things there. If folks have anything there, I'll be going to that event. I'll also be collecting notes for a future one of these meetings. All right, cool.
We have demos
Nothing else?
scheduled for the next 2 weeks.
Cool.
Next week is Brant talking about the security manager role and tools with GitHub. And the week after is Matt Young showing some of the work from the supply chain insights as sort of a checkpoint.
All right. See you all next week.
See you all later. Bye.
Bye.